All right, so we would like to welcome our audience to another episode of the Song Distillery. We've been going at this for a couple weeks now, and we've been getting quite a few persons involved in the dialogue. I want to welcome my co-host Sean, and I would like to welcome the lovely Shermy. Fortune, she's with us today. She's our guest on today's episode, and we have just so much to discuss with her. Sean, you actually had a question for Shermy before we started. I guess this would be a perfect time.
Yeah. All right. So Shermy, please enlighten us. Where are you from? And because your name is definitely unique, and I feel like there might be a bit of a story behind that. So if you care to share it, just enlighten us, like I said.
Yeah, thank you. Great question. First, thank you guys so much for having me. I really am honored and appreciate the invitation. But yes, Jeremy. So it is a Nigerian name. So there's a lot of female Nigerian babies. So you'll probably hear the name start with CHI. So like Chichi, and it's a popular kind of root name. And the story is that my mom had met a friend who was Nigerian in college. So she went to American University. And when he found out that she was going to have a baby, he gave her a list of names that were popular in his particular country. And the CHI was usually given to female babies, especially after the mother thought they were barren. And so it literally means gift from God.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
That's sweet.
So she kind of put the rest of it after the CHI. So Jeremy is kind of her combination of the CHI and creativity.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
Jeremy. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And it's pronounced Jeremy, right? Jeremy. Like Jeremy with CH, correct?
Yeah, Jeremy with the CH. I think so there's two ways people say it. They say Jeremy or they say Jeremy. How you really say it, like if we're being really correct, is Jeremy, but no one remembers that. So Jeremy it is.
But I was close. I think I said Jeremy at first, but you said Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
That's very cool. That is awesome. So tell us, I actually came across you. I came across your profile through Ruslan's Love What You Do 3-day workshop for creatives.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ruslan, because that workshop changed my life. I'm just being very honest. It shifted a lot of my perspectives regarding creativity, regarding what I do. It was just very refreshing to be in a creative space that was just so warm and loving, and the honest vulnerability, like where he had homework assignments where you had to talk about debt and like other stuff. It was just like, man, this is crazy.
He got all up in there.
I'm telling you. And I've met so many wonderful people through there. But tell us, like, how did you come across Ruslan? What has been like your journey with his content as a creative?
Yeah, so I've been on a path of trying to figure out how to, make the creative side and what I do from 9 to 5 the same thing, right? So I'm always looking for information, but I actually started watching him because I think that how in YouTube it kind of recommends stuff. And whatever he was talking about that day, he does those crazy reaction titles. So
oh, yes.
I wanted to know. I mean, it's effective, clearly. So I wanted to know what he was talking about. And at the time, I think it was about like, there was some kind of, I think, international crisis going on, and he had some commentary. So I was trying to understand it because he had someone in the field talk about it on the show. And so I wanted to hear the real perspective, and that's how it started. But I had heard of him before just because I know that, his music and everything. So I just had never sat down and listened to his YouTube, that's what they call the podcast.
Right.
And that's where it started. And then I think in between just kind of catching up on some of his older episodes, he started to talk a little bit about his creative journey. And I was like, you know what, I should listen to this guy.
I should listen to this guy, right? I had that moment too. That I should listen to this guy moment. I think we all did. I think we all had that I should listen to this guy moment. Because in a sense, I mean, Ruslan doesn't know this, but I consider myself a disciple of Ruslan in a lot of ways, just in terms of a couple of things. I'll explain. As a creative, I have always appreciated believers who have sound and balanced theology, which is something I genuinely believe he has. Additional to that, the guy is a really great artist as well, just in terms of his rap and his hip hop and his music. He's really good. And so like I think I came across this page similar to you, Jeremy, in terms of I think YouTube suggested it because of the stuff I listened to, and I was like, who's this guy? And then one video led to another. I was like, this guy has some pretty interesting, solid perspectives. That's
like, talk about something.
Yeah, this guy is onto something here, and so it just kind of grew from there. Sean, how did you come across Susan? I've never asked you,
dude.
What was that
actually? Like? It's kind of the opposite of what Jeremy was saying. It was like I'm a big fan of YouTube. I love my YouTube creatives out there, secular and Christian. And I was, I'm just chilling at work, and I kind of fell into like the Marcus Rogers thing. That was my first introduction to Christian YouTube was Marcus Rogers.
Okay.
So it was kind of it was not a ideal situation because Marcus has some pretty interesting theological points that he thinks about, and he's kind of he's a firecracker. He's a firecracker.
Let's leave it at interesting for now.
He's interesting. Let's leave it at that.
That is
my mic is clipping. I'm sorry about that if I'm blowing you guys' ears out.
No,
sorry, everybody who's listening.
No, you're fine.
You're good. You're good.
So. But yeah, so and then I started listening as YouTube saw that I liked Christian content. It started to put me more in the direction of Alan Parr, a little bit of What Do You Meme, Mike Winger, and then just naturally through that process, boom, out comes this guy who has this crazy looking hair.
Yeah.
And he's talking about Christian hip hop, and I'm like, wait, and I wasn't even listening to Christian hip hop at this point. Also, I feel like I'm majorly lagging right now. I have no idea if I'm in sync with you guys or not. Hopefully
it throws just now, but I think you're coming around.
Coming across.
You're back now.
Yep, I can hear you.
You're back now.
Okay. Weird.
You're good.
Okay. So yeah, like I was saying, I was just stumbling across that, and then I wasn't even listening to Christian hip hop at the time, and then I watched this guy and he's talking about all these really cool creatives. I'm like, whoa, where has this been like this whole time?
Right.
So I dove straight in. I'm binge watching all of Ruslan's stuff, and he's remarkable for his he really honestly he straightened out some theology theology things for me, and he also confirmed a lot of things in my life that I'm like, this has got to be God. Not that he's God talking through the computer, but God is definitely using
God has been using
raise
him
up a whole bunch of people. So it's really exciting that it's interesting that the parallel that Jeremy is like, you found you knew about him from music, and then he kind of popped up for you. And I was like, dude, I honestly had no clue. I didn't hear one of his songs until actually I heard it in the outros. And then I was like, oh, that's his music. Oh, okay, cool. But then I actually start digging into his catalog.
Same for me.
Same for me.
Same for me.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I found out about him.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. And that kind of leads to my first question to Jeremy, which is, so Ruslan uses this term creative a lot to identify himself. Whereas before this season of my life, the word creative was used as an adjective, primarily in my conversations, to describe somebody. So somebody is a creative person. That person is creative in terms of how they do something. But in this season, I've come into a more clear appreciation of people identifying themselves as creatives. So I am a creative. What does that mean for you? Do you identify as a creative? Are you a part of this community of persons who say, I identify as a creative? And if so, what is a creative in your own words?
Yeah, so I think similar, I was not using the word like that before, and I was actually very married to the title of a writer. I didn't want anybody to call me anything else. I didn't want to be, even as a poet, I didn't want to just be a poet, because I'm like, that's not all I do,
Right.
So I think when people started to really use that as a title or a way to describe themselves, I actually really embraced it as well. And I think somewhere between it's creative or content creator, right? One or the other. But I think for me, it just means, it means kind of walking in the fullness of who you are. and expressing that through some type of art form, whatever that is for you. And for some people, social media is their art form, right? In itself. Like even if they're not singing, rapping, whatever, that for them is it's just another place to, again, creatively display their lives or to share the gospel or to communicate their message to the world. And so I think it's a great term, and I definitely, look forward to being a full-time creative.
Hey, yeah. And I mean, similar to you, I had the same journey of I struggled with explaining what I love to do or who I feel like I am. Because I mean, I think for most or many creatives, who we are is not necessarily what we do. So we have jobs that we do, but it's not really who we are, is it? Like, if I had a choice today, this wouldn't be what I do full time. Like, if I had the choice and the freedom and the flexibility to just live on this calling I sense or this impetus I feel towards the creative side, that would be what I do. But I couldn't quite peg it down to a term because I write, I sing, I write songs, I play a couple of instruments. I'm like, so I don't want the whole long name of singer-songwriter, musician. No, I was like, it's too much. So what kind of encapsulates everything without seeming, like flippant or arrogant or whatever? So when I heard persons using creative, I was just like, that feels right. And so I went through I'm a content creator phase. I'm a Christian content creator. I went through that phase.
Yeah.
But that was long. And I was just like, God, this is a lot of C's.
Like, you're running out of Instagram bio at this point.
Yeah.
You're running out of Instagram characters.
I'm telling you. I was like, no, this is not it. So when I heard creative, I was like, that feels right. And so like over time, the Lord actually began to confirm. Through people like Ruslan and through other people and scenarios has begun to confirm that there is a thing called this creative identity. And in fact, this is who you're called to be. So that's awesome. Shawn, what was your moment of coming into your identity as a creative? Or what was that? What has that journey been like for you?
So I'm going to try to get through this when I get done, I'm going to probably disconnect, but I will be right back because my internet is jumping.
Sure.
But let's see if I can get through this. So I've always been kind of creative in my life. Kind of grew up revolving mainly around music, and I always had a toy instrument of some kind, a toy guitar, a toy piano, or I would even like play on the family piano because I was just like, I was curious about it. I still can't even like really play a piano, but I always was really like into it.
Right.
Had a toy drum set, like, everything you can imagine for instruments. I had it. And then, years go on and I get into like elementary school, and then music there is like, just, singing in the chorus or playing the recorder. Middle school, going into high school, I'm playing saxophone and learning more about, how music really works or how the Western side of music works and what the theory is behind all that. And that kind of, I wasn't really following the Lord around that time, going into college or into high school, really. It kind of, I didn't really like know what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to do something in the audio music world for my life, but I did not know what purpose that really served. I just knew, oh, well, I like music and I like audio. I might as well try to find something that I like in that realm. And which is what, that's not a bad thing, but I think that what really lit my flame in terms of like you said, the creative identity, it's not just I'm a music producer anymore. It's more like I'm a creative human being, and I'm created to create. I think that's actually kind of been recent. Like, I mean, I knew that I wanted to create music, like make beats. Like that's really my thing, is making beats. But I knew that I wanted more. Actually, this past year, since I started my job working in audio design, sound systems, which is cool, and it's a lot of fun, and I get to learn a lot about that. Praise God for that job. My boss is he was a guitar player at my church, and that's how got my insights.
Holy connection.
Yeah. Praise God for that.
Ruslan always talks about serving in your local church and God using that to open doors for you. So that's dope.
It's facts. Beyond facts. Please, if you're not serving your local body, go serve.
It is important. Jeremy, would you share with us who are your top? I'll say top 3, or maybe that's too few. Top 3, too few. Would you want top 5? Top 3, top 5 creatives. I won't limit you. They can be poets, they can be singers, they can be anybody at all. I'll say top 5. Top 5. Give you some room. Good. Yeah, give you some room too.
Let me count my hands. I don't go over. Well, again, I'll say that number 1 is still going to be Janette. Because if you've seen her, I don't know if you've ever been to any of the P4CM Poetry in Autumn, but their traveling show, they go into way more than poetry. They have audio visual, and sometimes it's choreography. So she's definitely an all-around artist. And I don't know if you guys listened to her album, but yeah, she's an all-around artist, and I love that. So it's a great example for me to see. Yes. That you can use all the gifts and still be effective, right? So,
yes.
So she's number 1. Number 2, I will actually say my number 2 is a guy named Will Reagan. Do you guys know him?
I know Will Reagan. Oh yes, United Pursuit, worship.
Yes. What I love about him, I love him as a writer. And it's so funny because everybody loves "Break Every Chain" from Tasha Cobbs, not knowing that your man's wrote that years ago,
There you go.
Word.
Yes,
there you go.
There you go. And as I said, I'm a writer first, right? So that's what I think about is who wrote this song. Like I will go and look and find the credits.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, find the credits because I want to know, who wrote the song and are they talking on YouTube about how they write. So, like I was really, he wrote, Break Every Chain, and there's so many others I can't even think of them right now. That I
did not know that Will wrote Break Every Chain.
Yeah.
I did not. I was today years old when I learned that. Thank you, Sharon.
Yes, I am that person who will find it out. But yeah, so I love his ability to just write these timeless songs. And the things that I love about his writings and his albums are that they're so simple. It's not a bunch of extra stuff, it's very simple, band, it's maybe a 3-piece, maybe, very, very simple. It's not complex. And because I think at the heart of the gospel, there's simplicity. And so I lean towards that. And so, especially with my whole jam session vibes, we got to do what we have. So
got to have the djembe. Let's keep it simple. Got to have the djembe.
Got to be able to recreate on the djembe. So I really love him and his work. Third, I would say I really, really, really appreciate Whitney Houston. I really appreciate just her ability, because I think there's something to say again about just how. So I think as creatives, whether you're Christian or secular, there are biblical principles at work, whether you're Christian or not, right?
That's right.
And I feel like when you have that commitment to your craft, and when you marry the gift with your commitment to working on something and being dedicated to it, there's nothing you can't do. Right. And so I feel like even though, the way her life ended was tragic, everything before that, I feel like was just representation of, this is an amazing gift that everybody in the world admires and loves, and it crosses color lines and it crosses faith lines, and it's just this beautiful gift. And so it just kind of reminds me that sometimes the first thing people see will be your gift. It will not be your faith. It will not be what you say.
True.
And so sometimes, as the Bible says, your gift will bring you before great men, and that's when you have an opportunity to talk about the gospel, right? So that just reminds me to keep that in mind. That again, going back to I'll call it the Kanye effect.
Hey!
Like the Kanye effect says that the work has to be top notch. It has to be the best version of whatever you can do. And so just keeping that in mind, that excellence is worship too. Number 4, I would say I am definitely a big fan of Maverick City. And
Maverick,
these
they're
days,
one of
right?
my
Everybody.
favorites. I'm going to see
Yes.
them in Atlanta on the 7th of November.
Nice. Yeah. You know what? They're here this month, or what's this month? I feel like it's next weekend, but
and you're not going? Are you out of your mind? What is wrong with you?
I know, but the idea of being around thousands of people singing is kind
of scary. I get you. Yeah, I get you.
But I gotta figure it out. I'm still thinking through it. But the ticket, I have the ticket in my cart. I just haven't pressed purchase yet.
Got you. Get your hazmat suit. Get your hazmat suit and your like your gas mask and just get out there.
Right. You gotta get out there any kind of way, right? So it's on my list. But what I love about them actually is I love the music, I love the songs, I love the artistry. What I love the most though is the diversity.
Facts.
I just feel like the environments that I've grown in the quickest, the environments that my faith has just gone leaps and bounds, has always been in diverse context, right? Because you don't have a choice. You all think differently and you have to learn how to get along. And so when I see Maverick City, I see this beautiful picture of what the kingdom of God actually looks like.
What it actually looks like.
What it actually looks like, which looks like a whole bunch of different types of people from different types of background. Yeah, from different types of churches and denominations, I'm sure, that, you know, can come together and just worship God on one accord. So
there you go.
That's what I love most about them. Don't get me wrong, I love the songs. You know, I love the lyrics. I love the writing. But that's what I appreciate most about that group. Number 5. It's gonna be hard.
Who's gonna be the last person?
Who's gonna be the last person?
Who's gonna make this? Who's gonna get the final slot?
Who's
Ladies and gentlemen,
the yellow golden ticket. You know, I'm gonna go left right here. I enjoy John Mayer.
Good pick.
It's so random, I know, and it's funny because I think
I wasn't expecting that. He's a great people. I really wasn't. When she said go left, that's kind of like, oh, let's see. Oh, John Mayer. Whoa. I
was expecting somebody completely different, but you know what?
A little off the spectrum there. Yeah.
But he's solid.
He's solid, and I don't know why. When I was a kid, I loved the Continuum album. I don't know why. It was like my cousin used to walk in on me like laying on the floor, and he's like, what are you listening to? He's like, what is this weird music? I was like, get out. I'm having a moment. No, but I know that he has a background in blues, and so that comes out in the way he plays his guitar. So I'm very much into acoustic guitar as well. So
nice.
I don't know. It's just one of those random, like, I just like the way it sounds. And it's so funny because I think I don't know if it was an article, if it was like written or if it was a regular like video interview, but there's somewhere where he was like saying that he doesn't really know why Black people like his music, but he goes with it. But it's like, because I believe he trained under B.B. King, if not somebody else.
Oh,
so
that would explain a lot.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, you have like soul.
He has a lot of soul in his song. Right. I'm surprised he doesn't know why though, because when I first heard him, I was just like, who is this white Black dude? Like,
right. He kind of
he has that energy.
Effect. He's kind of like he's like a what's his name? Bobby Caldwell. If y'all know the one song, what you would do for love, and like that song, literally my entire life, like I've heard it, like, you know, it's kind of like one of those songs that, you know, would play at the family cookout, you know, yearly, and then my whole life I thought that was a Black man singing, and then somebody, I think it was like 2016 2017, someone tweeted a video of the music video for that song, and it's a white dude in a fedora, and I said, you're lying.
I do not know what song this is.
It's a classic. I'm gonna send it to you. It's like his
send me the link.
Wonder, but it's so good.
Yes.
It's a bop. That whole album actually, it's a 70s record, and it's like, it's got like disco, funk, rock, and like, but he does it in such a cool way where he also blends a whole bunch of other elements together. I'll send it to you, bro.
Yeah, nice. And you know, again, going back to Jeremy being a weirdo, and like middle school, high school, like when we had MySpace, that was our background
MySpace
song of all songs. Of all songs, that was my background. And somebody was like, "Who's old Auntie Paige's?" And I'm like, "Y'all can fall back, okay? This is for grown folks only." So,
oh my. Wow, that was such a grown choice, though. That was such a mature choice.
That was a mature
choice.
choice.
Come on,
facts.
That's dope. That's dope. That's
respect.
Dope. Listen, John Mayer is definitely a whole vibe. I really appreciate his sound and his tone. Because that whole black effect, I don't know where it comes from. Perhaps it's from his mentorship by B.B. King, if that's the case, or he just has that energy in it, you know. And
he does.
And so thanks for sharing those top 5. I have one more question before I hand over to Shawn for any concluding questions he may have.
Sure.
And this one is, what do you sense is your direction going forward in terms of djembe playing? Are you going to be offering like any djembe lessons? Are you going to go on tour with the djembe? Is this going to be the first, poet girl with a djembe kind of vibe?
Dude, that would be kind of tough.
Because that could be a vibe. Like, what are you sensing? Is there anything that you'd like to share with whoever is in the audience? Like, this is what you can expect. This is what I'm doing. Is there anything you're working on now that you'd like to talk about? Go ahead.
Yeah. So the djembe is going on tour. The djembe is going on tour because it's always in my car. So
it's already on tour.
You got to be ready for a spontaneous worship moment at all times.
There you go. Being ready.
But I right now actually I'm serving in a capacity as a worship leader, which is a lot of fun. So nice. I get to serve at my church on that team, and I get to lead another team in another church. But I think in terms of the direction I'm going in, I'm just going in an all or nothing direction, if that makes sense. I don't know. You know what? One person I forgot to mention, you guys, and I'm going to butcher his last name, so forgive me, but Tobe N'wigwe.
Tobe N'wigwe. Tobe N'wigwe.
Oh, yeah, Tobe.
Yeah.
Fi.
Dude,
yes.
Tobe and Fi. We gotta talk about Tobe a little bit. Tobe,
Tobe's amazing.
Tobe is on a wave. I was saying to a friend of mine recently, I was saying, I really wish I had bought tickets for the Monumental tour. I'm very disappointed with my. You were there.
I was there.
I feel really bad. Listen, I feel like this tour is going to be. Do you know, like, every legend has that tour? That year, that was like, guys, if you were there that year, that was the year. That was like the defining year. I feel like this is Tobe's defining year. He is such a beautiful believer. That's the first thing. And the second thing, he's such an awesome, talented guy. Like, this guy is... He
has a Kanye effect.
He does.
Yeah.
I remember, like, when I first heard him, I'm trying to remember the first song I heard from Tobe. I don't remember the first song I heard from him, because I've listened to like everything he's done now, but I don't remember the first song.
Ten Toes was mine.
What was your first
song? The first song I heard by
Ten Toes.
10 Toes, and then I think for me it was what was it? I think it was. Hold on, I'm gonna go into my.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look back on my YouTube because I don't remember the first song I heard from him, but I just remember hearing this guy and it's like. The word played, lyrics.
Yeah, literally. He goes. So this is it. It was I don't know how you pronounce it. Is it Iwu 2?
Oh, okay.
Iwu 2, man. I heard that, and like I think I was on like my Apple Music like radio or something, and I was just like, what's playing? And I heard that, and I was like, dude, his lyricism game, like his pen game is like
it's stupid.
It's just a whole nother level. And I was like asleep for a minute because I was just listening to it. I was like, oh, he's kind of saying something. And then I pulled up like the lyrics with it, and I said, this guy is on a whole nother league.
I think one of the things I love about guys like Tobe is that he is an undeniable talent force. So one of the things that I think he does is he brings legitimacy to Christian talent. Because so many times you hear people say, I'm a rapper, I'm a singer, or I'm a whatever, I'm a dancer, I'm a painter, whatever, and I'm a Christian, and people automatically discredit you like, oh, you're a Christian, okay, all right, cool. Kind of like, he's not going to be any good anyway. But this guy, every stage he's just lighting up, every forum he's been on. He's been like Sway has been giving him a whole lot of respect. Like the whole rap community, the whole hip hop community has had to be like, yo, these guys, and why I love it is not because he's getting the approval of men, but because he is a light. Like and I always say this. I said Tobe N'wigwe. I hope I'm not butchering his last name. He probably slapped me if he heard me saying this, but I feel like he steps into hip hop, a genre that to a great extent is built on the foundation of promiscuity. How does a married guy preaching family values and monogamy make waves in hip hop? Like, how do you do that? Like, how do you step to like a J. Cole or step to like a K-Dot, or you know what I mean? Like anybody in that space and be like, listen, I'm here in this space. I'm a force to reckon with, and I am married and I believe in my wife, my family, my children. This is what it is. This is the model. This is the brand. But he's just so good. Even if you don't agree with him, you're forced to like the guy. You're forced to be like, this is fire. This is really good.
It is.
So I love the fact that you were able to mention him as he's what, number 6?
Yeah, but I'm gonna pull him up in the ranks. He might be 3. You know, we might have to bump out John Mayer, but no, I mentioned him because, well, number 1, my favorite song from him is Fuego. Whew. Anyway, that's just like an amazing freestyle. And I will say this too: I am a live music person. I do not go to that many rap concerts because in my mind I'm not going to be bored. Went there, it was amazing. He didn't do anything but rap, but I was fine. It was great. Wow. And my friend was laughing at me. She was like, "You're the only person I know who's going to worship at a rap concert."
Not one person.
I was like, number 1.
Yes, Lord.
Like hands raised.
Right.
Hair
she's
streaming.
She's like, Tammy, I love you. You're the only person who's going to worship at a rap concert. They're like, leave me alone. Leave me. I'm just so excited. But what I love is with what he said in, I think, the interview, like right before he really got started. And he said, you know, I'm going to give this 10 years.
10 years. I listened to that interview.
Yes, and I'm going to give it all I got. And if, nothing else,
if it doesn't work out, I'm done. I give it as
supposed to do, right? He'll go back to doing whatever the traditional, career path is. Doctor, lawyer,
That's
so I heard that and it stuck with me. And just actually this year, this idea of 10, this number really sticks out to me. I don't know why this year, but I turned 30 in July. And yes,
let's go.
And it's also been just a lot of death, unfortunately, around me. And so, but I feel like every time someone passes away, it just kind of reminds me time is short, time is short. Right, and, only what you do for God is going to matter.
That's right.
And so for me, when I look at just my life, I'm like, you know what, God, how can I be emptied out? And the way that I see myself going forward is literally just being emptied out. I see me spending the next 10 years, doing that, trying to push out everything that I can, that I feel like God has given me. And I think also practically speaking, you want to do all these things right in your single season before you get a family. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna just keep going. I'm keep running and see what the end gonna be. Let God work that out. But that's the direction I'm going in. It's nothing super specific. It's just like whatever ideas he's given me. It does include a book of poetry again, even in the darkest places. So I'm working on that.
Beautiful.
Yes. I've written songs in the past and not done anything with them. So I'm gonna release those as well. And I'm also a part of a group called Girls and Guitars, and we support one another. It's women of color who play acoustic guitar or just any form of guitar. So some bass, some electric, some acoustic, and we play together sometimes. And that's something that I really enjoy. So I'll be doing that. And then also I want to start teaching younger kids about spoken word poetry. And I've never seen a Christian slam team compete before in the high school competition. So I would love to coach a team.
That.
Yes, I would love that to happen. Because like I said, cursing is kind of synonymous with poetry in terms of it, the punchline. And it doesn't have to be that way. So those are just some ideas, some things that I'm thinking about, but I'm going forward, and whatever God wants me to do, I'm going to do.
That sounds fantastic.
Amen.
That sounds fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. Shawn, do you have any questions? Any thoughts?
Man, a lot of thoughts. My questions, you kind of hit them all, but it's this, man, like you have this thing about you. This is the Genesis podcast, by the way. This is what people are gonna come back to in like 10 years, and they're gonna be like, "Look at her. This is before
guys,
anything."
Yeah,
These are the ones
they interviewed Jeremy years ago before she was popping off and touring with Tobe.
See, next time I'm gonna have to get on the list. I'm gonna have to get on the list to be on this show. Okay, and be like, I was on it before. I promise.
Right, but literally, I mean, you have this like, I mean. Just the fact that you have this kind of like energy behind you of like pushing yourself to go all that way. For me, like right now, I'm working a full-time job and trying to do music on the side and the podcast on the side. So it's like, and it's something that, you know, I personally have been feeling, not like convicted isn't the word, because convicted brings this negative connotation, and I don't mean it to come off that way, but it's this feeling of like, man, am I being faithful because I'm in this traditional setting of a job, and I'm trying to like, I want to like really give my all into the music, because I know it's what God, like where he ultimately wants me. Like I know that he wants me to go into some creative field and like really just push into that. And like, you know, if things get rough, then you got to have the faith. But just seeing individuals like yourself to, you know, who are like, no, I'm really going for this. I'm really game. Like, I'm really about this. And if God's got me, I got it. Then like that really puts something in me that like, I know I need it. So I know I'm blessed by this. I pray that other people are blessed and see the value in somebody like yourself and other artists out there who are, you know, really pushing themselves to the limits in their faith. Because that's really what the test is. It's your faith. Do you have the faith that God's going to give you the creativity, the financial resources, the stability, the everything that you need to continue on this path? Because this is one of the few paths where you have that. Every other field path in terms of career out there is, oh, well, yeah, you know, you got your 401k, you've got your, you know, your benefits, you'll be fine, you'll be taken care of if you stick to the traditional route. But when somebody says, no, I want to go off the beaten path, and I want to excel for God, like that, to me, that just shows a whole nother level of dedication and faith. So again, like I really appreciate that about you, Jeremy. Like seriously, that's encouraged me. Like not quitting my job tomorrow. I have responsibilities.
Wait, me neither.
Okay, hold on now. But you know, just to at least, you know, give more thought into, you know, how can I really take the time to really push into my craft and really dedicate it the appropriate amount of time that it needs and give it up to God in worship. Like that, I think is it is crucial, and for all creatives, whatever you do. A question I did have though, I don't think we really discussed it yet. I think we touched a little bit. Your social media, I'm curious, what is your overall strategy going into your, like, how do you see yourself branding, and then how do you see yourself growing into that, and possibly changing, you know, what are your thoughts on that?
So you know how us creatives try to be jacks of all trades.
Oh yes,
facts.
I don't really want to be, you know, like social media is a necessary evil. That's how I see it, to be honest. Like, fair. Don't get me wrong. I love the connections. Obviously, we connected that way, right? So I see its merit. It has fruit, but it can also be very distracting. So so in all honesty, I've been in a season where probably the last few years where I'll start something, but the consistency may not be there, just because I'm like, I'm tired of getting on this app, you know, like, or I find myself scrolling more than creating. And that's I think that's the biggest temptation. And then there's always a new platform, right, that you use.
Gotta get on here. This is where it's popping. This is where the audience is at. Get here right now.
You know? And especially I think because like writing is like where I kind of rest my focus, and I'm always like, this is less and less and less writing focus, you know. It's more about pictures, it's more about video. So I'm adjusting, and I feel like it's just about, you know, knowing that the territory is changing and you have to change with it, you know. And so I'm kind of taking it step by step, but I would say my strategy right now is to just be consistent. I think sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. And I've been in the season where I've overanalyzed it, or I was very like text post, picture post, video, like trying to really right trying to make it visually aesthetic and all these things. And and I'm still working on it. But cool. Yeah, I think right now it's just the key thing for me is consistency, because this past Sunday when I was serving, the pastor had this great message and he was talking about kingdom business. And he was talking about how sometimes as Christians, like for some reason, we just kind of stop fighting. And he's talking about how every time you stop using your gift, every time you stop reading your Bible, every time you stop engaging with other believers, you are taking a break and leaving the fight. But the fight is going on. It's continuing. And so I took that personally to mean like, you know what, Jeremy, no one cares. If you don't feel like posting today, like this is not a luxury. This is an obligation. You have to share your light and to share, whatever God wants you to share, whether you think it's effective or a blurry picture or not, it's not about how I feel per se. It's about the fact that God is giving me something to share with the world. And even if it's as simple as, saying a prayer or whatever, or talking about what God did for me, like, I don't know how that can impact somebody. And so who am I to not share is kind of where I am right now. So consistency. Yeah.
That's the biggest thing is the consistency. You have to have that if you're building anything online nowadays, because people's attention spans are, like that of a goldfish.
I really appreciate just you sharing that, because I feel like in a lot of ways, Jeremy, you touched on stuff that a lot of creatives struggle with. And it's something that even as you're speaking, I'm already thinking of like future episodes and just like stuff that we definitely have to discuss here in terms of branding and in terms of what platforms to leverage and how young creatives can leverage those. And what I'm seeing a lot more of a need for, which is networking with other creatives for specialization. Because, for example, I know creatives who are exceptional marketers who, you know what I mean? Like, perhaps this is something you have to delegate to like somebody to be like, hey, can you manage my platform for me? And you know what I mean? And you focus on creating the art. You know what I mean? Because Corona has taught us something. Corona has taught us a lot in terms of maintaining connections with your audiences, maintaining connections with your family, still being able to produce art and share it with the world while being stuck at home. And I think this has been like these 2 years has been the advent of the creative, just in terms of so many young creatives who were unknown have had a chance to shine because the big shows weren't happening, tours weren't happening, everything was shut down. So all the big stars were quiet, and in that quiet, here comes this whole small set of creatives who are on their Instagram and on their YouTube, and everybody's like, "Who is this? Who is this?" Because we didn't have anywhere to go, and so like everybody was stuck on their phones or laptops or iPads and stuff, and that forced a lot of light to be shown or shone on an area that wasn't getting much attention before. And so I think it can be an indispensable tool depending on like the direction of the world. But you are right that it's so easy to get caught up in distraction. It's so easy to get caught up in the rat race of I have to post this, I have to do that, I have to stick to this. And I think I am just coming into a space of comfort in terms of what formula works for me. And it took a couple of years. I've worked with people before who have managed for me and it didn't work out. I've worked doing it myself with formulas that didn't work, and now I think I'm coming into a sort of system that works because I love marketing. I'm not professional. I just like do small stuff that I can where I can, but I love pulling it together and like working on little elements like the videos and editing stuff and splicing and stuff. And I think God has shown like a formula that works, and so something that I'll pray for you, given that you've shared that, is that the Lord will give you wisdom. Is it that you should delegate to somebody? Is it, if that's the case, that he will lead you to who that person is and kind of connect you guys so that they will kind of be like, hey, I am your person. Just don't worry about it. Just stand right there. Let me take your picture. Don't move it. I'm going to post it. Yeah. So I'm going to pray that if that's the case, that the Lord will lead that person into your path, kind of like how he orchestrated for us to meet. You know what I mean? Just without our even knowing, you know, he was just like, all right, you guys need to meet and you guys need to do this. And so I'll definitely be praying that for you.
Thank you.
I would love if you could share like your social handles, just for anybody in the audience, just in case they want to follow your work, follow your page. I think you have a decent page. Okay, let me just say that. I like your page. Okay,
and
I'm not saying that just to make you feel good, because when I came on the page, I was like, oh, this layout is here. Colors are popping. This is nice. Like, this person knows what they're doing. So hearing you say you're kind of just like whatever, I'm just like, really, because the page is nice. You know what I mean? But you can share your social handles so that we can have persons in the audience check out your stuff.
Sure. So I'm sorry, y'all, but you got to learn how to spell my name. So, but I promise you start typing CHIER, ain't nobody else coming up. So yeah,
one user found.
Exactly. So it's just Jeremy Fortune on all platforms: YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. I'm also on Medium. I'm starting to build that out as well. So if you want to read some of the more long form stuff, I'll be over there chilling. Nice. And I'm also, and my website is jeremyfortune.com as well. And I also have another page. It's called Becoming the Woman. And that's kind of more my personal behind the camera journey of just my life and how I've kind of arrived at certain milestones in my faith. So I'd love to share that as well, and feel free to follow both. But I just want to say thank you to you guys. Yes, Becoming a Woman.
I'm gonna check it out. I'm not becoming a woman at all, but I'm gonna share your page because
thank you.
It's a crazy world. I gotta put that out there. But listen, thank you so much, Jeremy, for joining us. I am honored. Listen, I know I'm going to be reflecting on all that has been shared tonight, with my mind just exploding, because I live for these conversations. I love creative conversations with fellow believers, persons who have interesting perspectives and stories and stuff. So I want to thank you sincerely for joining us on the Song Distillery, sharing your heart, your passion, your faith, your creativity, just your light and your energy, and just all that subsumes your world with us and with our audience. I'm immensely grateful. Before we go, Shawn, do you have any closing remarks that you'd like to share?
No, everything. I echo everything Vic just said. Thank you so much for being here, and you've blessed me, I know, and I'm sure you've blessed countless of other people. And I'm going to be sure to check out all your pages and your behind the scene blog thing too, because that sounds like, even if it is from that perspective, it sounds like it could just bless anybody who reads it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. And again, I really appreciate being on here. I was honored to be asked. I'm like, who, me?
Of course, you. Dope.
Yes. Thank you. I definitely, I love everything that you all are doing, and I'm looking forward to continuing to follow your journeys. And I'll be waiting for that release, Victor. Okay, and Shawn, I know you're working on these songs, so come on with it.
Let's go. Thank you so much. Have an awesome night. Take care, Jeremy.
All right. Thank you.
Later, guys.